is just a down payment on our bigger $1 billion plus cost to fix all our roads. And then looking at the regional share, we've got projects including Highway 68, looking at operational and safety improvements along the corridor. We're proposing $45 million for that, which is a lot of money, but it wouldn't be enough to say do a bypass, which is what some people would like. We're talking about operational improvements along the corridor, and we're doing a study right now looking at what is the best combination of operational improvements. We're looking at things like roundabouts because they have a lot of advantages, but roundabouts don't fit on every location and every circumstance, so we're looking at a range of different options. And we'll actually be having some public meetings to bring back some of the initial analysis and some suggestions and getting a lot of public input. So I hope you'll hear about this. We'll be talking a lot about it in the next year on the Highway 68 corridor. US 101 South, trying to address some of those cross traffic with the farm equipment. 156 at Castroville Boulevard and Blackie Road. That signalized intersection on 156 is our #1 accident location, so we're proposing to fund an interchange there. Imgen Road Parkway, currently there's a part of Imgen Road that's 2 lanes, and we have a plan for widening that section to 4 lanes and enhancing the transit service through between Marina and Salinas and the bicycle facilities through there. So we'd fund part of that. Highway 1 Busway. While some people would like to widen Highway 1, the cost would be prohibitive. We're working with Monterey Salinas Transit looking at options to enhance bus service along Highway 1. And they'll be looking at options including buses on the shoulder, allowing them to bypass some of the traffic, and utilizing the Monterey branch line and putting a busway along the branch line to bypass some of the congestion in the mornings and the afternoons. And then the Del Monte Lighthouse Corridor, which Ariana mentioned, which would probably be combined with a busway along Highway 1, bringing the busway into Monterey, and then looking at improvements to reduce some of the collisions that happen on Del Monte and improving some of the flow between Lighthouse and Del Monte, because that corridor does connect through Monterey to Pacific Grove. It provides it's the corridor where the visitors going to the aquarium most often drive on. And I think everyone who lives here has been on Lighthouse knows it's a difficult, constrained area for projects. I would expect a lot of this would be on Del Monte because of that issue. And then mobility for youth and seniors, I'd call it mobility and safety. The Safe Routes to School, as I mentioned, is to help kids get to schools and around neighborhoods. The commuter buses for South County and Monterey Salinas Transit would like to put a bus fueling facility down in King City, which would allow them to save operational money by not running buses back to fuel them and be able to put more money into service. The downtown safety and walkability is to make downtowns easier to walk in. Salinas adopted a vibrancy plan for their downtown. That specific project will probably be reduced as we put more money to local street and roads. I mentioned more service for seniors. FORTAG is the Fort Ord Recreational Trail and Greenway project. And I don't know if folks here have heard of that, but there's a lot of discussion about putting in a paved path that connects Marina from the north all the way down to CSUMB, connecting to Seaside, Delray Oaks, and Monterey out on that edge, with great access into the Fort Ord monument areas, and then access over to the Monterey Sanctuary Scenic Trail, or often called the Rec Trail. And that will provide a very enjoyable but back connection to allow people to get around all those developing areas without needing their car. And that project is on the list for some funding. And then habitat preservation, which is when you're doing transportation projects, you almost inevitably have some type of habitat impacts. And the way they're dealt with now is kind of piecemeal, where you have a few acres or fractions that have to be mitigated. And this would allow us to start a habitat bank where we can address combined habitat issues for multiple projects and allow us to have a more cost-effective solution to address them. At the same time, when you can combine them and maybe purchase a larger habitat area, it's better for the animals that you're impacting versus piecemeal. So that would just start that effort. One thing we've heard loud and clear is the need for taxpayer safeguards, and that's part of the plan that we're proposing. It would include annual audits. It would include Citizens Advisory Committee. The League of Women Voters would be invited to be on that group. Other community groups around the county would be part of that. It conditioned that it can only be used for transportation projects. No fund shifting. The amount of money we give to a city or the county for maintenance has to be not only used for maintenance, but the money they currently use for maintenance has to be kept in maintenance. So this is above and beyond the little bit of money they have now. And then a firm sunset date. I mentioned 30 years, and that's what's being proposed here. From our standpoint, you can't repeat the last line enough. The state can't take your money. We are in the process right now with the shrinking gas tax revenue, and we are having to identify $7 million to take it out of our state program over the next 5 years. And that's part of statewide $750 million that is having to take out of the state program. So local tax would help us avoid some of that and have the advantage of us being able to deliver projects with more certainty and bringing in more matching funds and deliver more projects earlier. The board released this draft that I'm talking about in December, and we've been going around to all the city councils making presentations, to groups making presentations, getting input, and we hope to bring a final draft to our board for consideration on the 24th of this month. And after the board approves it for release, we'll be going to the cities for adoption. The next step in this is we need the majority of cities representing the majority of the population in Monterey County to approve the plan in order to proceed with putting it on the ballot. Once we get that criteria met, we ask the county to put it on the ballot, and then it has to happen by August. And then the election day is in November. So that's when you'll get a chance to weigh in directly on it. The reason why we are pursuing a sales tax right now and considering past efforts for a sales tax is that we've done polling pretty regularly over the past years. And in order to meet the 66.7 threshold, the 2/3 requirement for voter approval, it's a high threshold. In our last election in 2008, we hit 63%. While that would get someone elected, you can't get a sales tax passed at 63%. The last poll we did was in December, and it's been received very well. There's a lot of understanding in the community about our needs for transportation. It was at 68% yes, and then another 3% lean yes. So it indicates that all this work we've done talking to the various community groups, that we're on the right track. And so we're really, feel like we're on the right track, and we're wanting to move forward and get this to the polls. But we really can't do it without your help. We don't want to face more road closures or have our roads go completely to gravel. So that's why we're bringing it here to you to get your input and hear anything you have to say. So I'm done with my part, and I'd like to hear from you. Thank you.
There's been a lot of discussion about the effect of greater gasoline efficiency with automobiles, well, all vehicles, and that has the result that we're getting less tax based on gallons. How would that affect what you're talking about? Your tax would last for 30 years, right? Mm-hmm. And it would persist even if there were new taxes based on mileage rather than gallons. Is that correct?
The question was how would, let me see if I can repeat the question. There's discussion about other ways to collect taxes outside of based on gasoline purchases, and how would that affect this sales tax? And the only option locally we have to generate money is through a sales tax. Legislatively, from the state, that's our only option. The state, throughout the country, primarily starting with Oregon, but also California, is looking at a vehicle miles traveled fee and changing the collection of taxes from gasoline consumption based to vehicle miles traveled based. Generally, they're talking about replacing the existing revenue amount with this new. So that's having an additional local tax still has all those advantages of being able to attract other grants and things like that.
You've made a strong case for the fact that we're so far behind in keeping up on all these projects that I think it would be great if we got the 3.8% sales tax and we also got more money from the gasoline tax. Because we need everything we can get right now, I think, for our infrastructure.
So I'll repeat the comment. We need everything we can get. Yes, there's a question back there? Yes.
In Europe and the East Coast and Bay Area, on the bridges, there are tolls. Why could that not be implemented here with perhaps the exception of agriculture and hospitality workers? So many people that come here just use our roads, and I think we should have a toll tax.
Well, tolls are a hot button issue. And I didn't want to talk about that today. We are evaluating whether we can toll the construction of the 156 project, widening the 156, 4 new lanes parallel to the existing 156, and a new connection to the US 101. And that's and it's not in the sales tax proposal because it's probably a $292 million project, and that's more than we could commit to any one project for the sales tax. And there's tolling. There's people who aren't familiar with it. There's different impacts to different groups of people, so you have to be really careful and really consider how it impacts everyone when you proceed with the toll.
I would like to know if you had thought about Big Sur climate, Big Sur, marina, the wind, and so forth, and what impact this would have on all the roads that are near water.
The question is, are we considering that? And there isn't any project specifically in this measure being proposed that would go towards either maintenance of the state highway along Highway 1 along Big Sur Coast or Highway 1 through Marina. Those are the responsibility of Caltrans, the state highway. And so we're really talking about the local roads, the local city roads and the county roads. And they're generally in the maintain what you've got mode. Any new project has to be evaluated for sea level rise and issues like that.
I know you mentioned that you didn't want to talk about the toll road 156, but I haven't heard anything lately. Could you just tell us where is it at
Sure.
this point?
Yes, Janet, how long? I was here a year ago talking about the 156 project. Yeah, our board directed staff to spend more time doing an in-depth analysis of the traffic and revenue potential of a toll facility. So that has just started with primarily consultant providing assistance, doing detailed modeling along the corridor all the way up to the 101 up to the San Bernardino border and down through the 156, and looking at various toll rate options, various local discounts, how those would change the diversion impacts of how if people would choose to use the toll facility or choose to try to avoid it. And we won't have results for another 9 to 12 months.
Was part of that project that there would still be the existing road, you could still choose to travel the local?
Yes, the current 156 remains open and free in every option. Yes, sir.
When Fort Ord closed several years ago, there was a discussion at that time of a road being built from Seaside to Salinas and perhaps onto 101, a freeway, sort of expressway sort of a road. I haven't heard any more about it, and I heard maybe a brief mention in your comments earlier about it. I wondered if you could bring us up to date on whether that's still viable, or the idea of it, of course, was to relieve 68 and allow it to continue to be a scenic highway, and would also relieve 156 by having a direct path from 101 to the Monterey Peninsula that long-range commuters could use.
Okay, the question is about a regional road across former Fort Ord approximately west-east or east-west. And I've been involved with transportation on Fort Ord for a long time, so I'll try to hit what you're talking about. There has been in the past been a larger vision for a road from say Delray Oaks across, and that has never made it into the official plan. What's still currently in their plan is the East Side Parkway that connects from General Jim Moore over to Reservation. And that's part of the FORA Capital Improvement Program, and they're moving, that's tied into the whole FORA development discussion. And there is a transportation study going on right now evaluating, updating the transportation network and looking at changes as development has happened and evaluating what their needs are. So there will be probably more information about that over the next 6 months or so. What I mentioned was the Imjin Parkway, and there's Imjin Parkway from what used to be the 12th Street Bridge on Highway 1, next to the Dunes Shopping Center where Target and REI are located, and going over to Reservation. And there's a section of that that's 4 lanes, and then it narrows to 2 lanes, and then it hits Reservation. And what we're proposing to include for funding in this plan is the section, widening the section from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. It's a little confusing. It's Imjin Road to Reservation Road. And while we are also, we describe it as widening it from 2 to 4, the preliminary plans include 3 roundabouts along that corridor instead of signals, so people can travel through it faster and safer. And there's enhancements to how the bus can go through, so the regional bus routes can take better advantage of it.
I just really appreciate the wideness of how you're looking at transportation, and that I live in Seaside, I see a lot of people on bicycles, and especially I think with the university. So having trail funding inside a transportation, I think will make it a lot safer for commuters, and there's a lot of recreation people, I think, coming from outside the area as well as inside the area. So I'm really happy to see that as part of this initiative.
Great, thank you.
I just have one question. Using roundabouts on cross highway, what are the speed limits that